up, everybody? Welcome back to the Realest People in Real Estate podcast, where we talk about the real shit and not about real estate. I'm Brooke.
I'm Tyra.
And I'm Nicole. And today we have the pleasure and privilege to have the amazing Becky Alley, Vice President Banker with Capital Mortgage Funding and co-host of the Hardcore Mortgage Show. Welcome to our podcast.
Yay! I'm so
happy
excited
to have you here today.
Thank you.
Love it, love it. So we are about to pop some bottles and get some champagne going.
Oh, hey!
That was a good job.
That's a good one today. Good one today. So we're going to get the champagne flowing. How's everyone's week going, you guys? How you guys doing?
Amazing.
Amazing. It's been a good week.
I forgot what day it was. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was Thursday, but really it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah, I feel like I get today. This week was one of those I didn't know if I was coming or going. I needed my handler to step up.
Your handler.
Yeah.
Handler. I've got mine pouring champagne back there.
Yeah.
So step up on that one. Yeah. That's too funny. So we're going to start the show because I want to ask you guys, did anybody watch the Grammys? It was on Sunday.
I did.
You
Yes.
did?
Yeah, I totally
Oh,
watched
thank
them.
you. Did you
Yes.
guys watch?
No.
Of course you did.
What?
Wow.
Sorry.
I
Tell us all
typically
about
don't.
it.
Okay, so I typically don't, but this time I did. I was laying around, decided to check in, and I just really want to quick give a shout out to Beyonce, who now holds the record for the most
Snaps to Queen
Yes.
Bey.
I did hear that.
to
I
the
saw
most
that
Grammy
on
wins,
Facebook
and
or something.
Lizzo for record of the year, first African American female from Whitney Houston.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's the first African American woman from Whitney Houston to win record of the year. Both African American women dominating the force. Happy Black History Month. Should be longer the month. We'll talk about that later at another time. But
Yeah.
on that note, like women in dominated men fields. Let's talk about it for a minute.
Yeah.
Becky, you are a woman. But don't talk about real estate.
I am a woman.
You are a woman, but you're not allowed to talk about real estate.
No,
But
yes,
you
I
are a
can.
woman in a male-dominated field. Tell us about that. Like, what is it like coming up in this field and getting where you're at and being the vice president? Like, what has it been like for you?
It's definitely been a challenge, and actually, since you brought up Lizzo, she brought up something that is kind of relevant to how I feel. You know, when she took her acceptance speech, she talked about how, you know, she had moments of doubt and she wanted to put out positive music, and there's a lot of pressure for them to pull out these ballads and all this stuff, and she stayed true to the course and, you know, and just said, I'm going to keep putting out this positive music and people are going to want to listen to it. And it's almost like that same mentality that, you know, when you're just trying to make any kind of positive impact, you have those moments of self-doubt where you feel like you're doing the wrong thing. And I feel like sometimes as women, and I've watched it, so it's my reality, right? It might not be someone else's reality, but my perception was I've had to work 10 times harder than my male counterparts to even get
true.
a little bit of the recognition
That you
know.
deserve.
And,
Absolutely.
you know, and that got frustrating, but I got to a point where I was like, Lizzo, right? Not like her, but I finally stood up for myself. I heard some things that I didn't agree with, and I used to have this mentality where I would just put my nose down. I would grind so hard. I'm gonna be so good. You can't ignore me. But why are you still ignoring me?
Right.
Yeah.
Why
Her
are you
acceptance
acting-
speech was
Yeah.
phenomenal, by the way. Like,
sure.
if you guys should really check it out. It was
Yeah.
absolutely phenomenal. Even her performance was great. She went up there and did her thing, and she sang, and she deserved every ounce of the award that she got. It was
cool.
unbelievable. But yeah, she did speak out about that a lot. Like, you know, keeping that positive energy, positive music. Same thing, positive attitude. People are going to listen. People are going to follow. And that's what you did. And that's, you know, awesome. You know what? Cheers to that. Let's
Right.
cheers.
Cheers. We need to.
Cheers to that.
Right.
Because you know what? Like, keeping true to yourself is definitely something that's
And I do want
important.
to thank you guys. I mean, for me to be asked as your guest on the third show, this is a big deal. I don't take it lightly. I'm honored to be here, and amongst, you know, what you guys are doing is big, and people are asking me about, hey, what's up? What's going on over there? Do you kick it with them? Do you
Okay.
keep
We're just hanging out.
Yeah,
We're just hanging out.
So I just wanted you guys to hear, and I was saving that for on here because the vibe that you're putting out, it's being caught.
Oh, that's awesome.
You're throwing
Thank
it out
you.
there, and people are catching it. So kudos to
We
you guys,
love
and
it.
thank you for
Love
letting me
that.
be in the room for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. It's been a lot of fun, you know. I think
Great to have you. on
Absolutely,
here. And
yeah.
we appreciate you even considering.
What?
You know, coming. So,
No, you guys are my people, and you know, kind of going back to what we were talking about, like this moment was already manifested in the stars. It was going to happen no matter what, because I have made decisions where I'm going to bring that positive people in my life because I've surrounded myself with some people that I shrunk myself to fit in their space, and I was doing myself a disservice. And when you stop doing that, naturally the right people, you're attracting them, and this is what this moment cultivates. This is what you guys are doing. This is all those things manifesting themselves to what they should be, because as soon as you step into your power and your light and your vibe, the right people are going to come along, and then you stop focusing on trying to make those little
tweaks.
To fit in someone else's spot when you're big enough, you're bad enough, I mean, to roll with the punches with anyone, but it's all about being in the right people with the right state of mind, and when you're around like-minded individuals, magic happens for sure.
Yeah. And that's really what we're trying to attract. That positive, energy. So
I get down with all that. So
and we get to drink champagne and talk about lots of fun
and
stuff.
Snoop Dogg, keep it real.
And Snoop Dogg. Let's talk about Snoop Dogg talking about we can't talk about real estate, but he did say if you don't own land, you don't know nothing.
Right.
So
And Snoop Dogg, we do drink your champagne. Can we grab one of those bottles really quick? Just really quick, because we just want to show Snoop Dogg.
But can we talk about that a little bit? You talked about how you had to kind of let people go. You had to surround yourself by the right people. So I want to know more about Becky Alley, like Becky growing up. Tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Okay, well, how much time do we have?
This is the realest.
I mean, we are talking real shit right now, so dive in.
So I'm not going to lie. I had a very blessed childhood. My parents were not rich by any means, but they spent time with us, right? So during those pivotal moments of growing up, we were loved, right? Now we definitely got disciplined for sure, but there was nothing that we didn't not have, and there was 4 of us, and I don't know how they afforded us, to be honest with you, because now that I have
4
children,
and I don't know how I afford them.
I don't know how they did it. So
it's crazy.
I will say that I was athletic. I always had a lot of friends. As far as like everyone, I'm about to drop a bomb on everyone. I'm gay.
Stop it.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that too later.
I never knew.
But as far as things, it really didn't pivot in a negative way within my family until those signs of me started coming out a little bit. And looking back on it now, I don't have any hate or disregard for what maybe they were going through, because I understand that as a parent, you want to shed or hide your child from anything that you feel might be less than a perfect life. And some of those moments came out wrong when I was coming out, or I didn't even know I was out, that kind of stuff. And that's...
Can you take us through that?
Yeah, I mean, so like in high school, right? I graduated in 2000. It wasn't cool to be gay then.
O.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, me too.
Hey, really? Oh.
Yeah,
I was double O.
Yeah.
I am double O.
Wow.
Sorry, bro.
Got a youngin'.
2013.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll go back to...
Well, it wasn't okay to be gay then,
Yeah.
And you had to kind of have your mustache, I guess. Like it wasn't like how my daughter's going to school now and they're going with all their girlfriends and their friends, where it's like you had to have a date and whatever else.
Yeah.
But again, that was someone else's belief that
Perception.
was forced on us. And looking back on it, like I wouldn't change anything because things happen for a reason, but I do instill a different kind of mindset into my daughters that you do not have to go back into the 1950s and you have to be courted and all that stuff, right? So, but I was in relationships at those times and I had to hide that, and it was always my friend and whatever else, and I was always athletic. I was the homecoming queen of my class. It was just taboo. You just didn't hear about it.
It was just like hidden back then.
Yeah, and people knew whatever. When I look back on pictures now, I'm like, who the hell was I fooling? I'm more feminine now than I was in high school. I was freaking a softball player, basketball player.
We need a
whatever.
picture.
I know,
my God.
yeah. Let's definitely send us
I
a
got
picture of
some
that.
juices.
But even when you say, like, hiding it, though, were you hiding it... Did people know? Like, did your parents know and you were hiding it, thinking you were hiding it? Or was it really, like, hidden and you just didn't want to...
I mean, it was hidden, but I came out young. I mean, you're talking like I was 17.
Okay.
But I was almost forced out in a way where it was like this, it got to a point where, it was almost I was asked in this accusatory way. I was never allowed the space to actually come out and say it on my own free will. It was like, are you this? Are you that? And it got to the point where it'd be like, is there a pen on this? I'd be like, no.
Right.
Because it was almost instilled in me that I was going to be letting somebody down. And that's the last thing
Absolutely.
as a child you want to...
Especially when it comes to your family.
Yes.
That
Right.
disappointment pedestal
like all
is
of a sudden,
high
like,
one.
whatever I was going to be in the world was completely going to be altered because of this lifestyle I was going to live on. I don't know what was going to happen. I don't know what they thought, but it wasn't anything. And, you know, part of those moments is also what drives me because, you know, I was like, oh my God, like, you don't even know who I am on the inside because I bring it up, and obviously we're going deep super fast, but
that's what we do.
I bring it up because I had such an amazing foundation. And nothing was going to shake that. Yeah. Nothing that I was doing, no one that I was going to love. I was always going to be who I was going to be already. And the biggest disservice that I thought happened was they didn't see me. Yeah. And it almost was, there was moments where I felt bad for them, because we have a great relationship now, but I almost felt bad for them because, my God, you didn't even, you couldn't even see the amazing job that you did raising me to see that I was going to be a functioning member of society and I was going to punch life in the face regardless in all the positive ways. But they lost sight of that. And that was a huge struggle going from like 16, you know, and up. It was a little bit of a struggle for me.
So can you tell us about when you just like knew that this is what I am?
I would say probably I was like 16.
Oh, okay.
You know, and I always hit it too because I hit it as well partly because of how I was always accused, but at the same time I would have been mortified if someone was like, oh, I feel weird around Becky, because people can be cruel.
Yeah.
But I always had
especially back then.
But I've been also very fortunate because no one ever came at me sideways, but it's also because I spent a lot of my energy making sure they knew me first. Yeah. And we had an amazing relationship. So that was something that it was just a part of me. It wasn't me, right?
Right.
And, you know, but a lot of that was, you know, looking back on it, if I would have just hit everyone with it instead of feeling like I couldn't, you know, it probably would have avoided a lot of this tap dancing around where I was going to be and how quickly I would have, you know, been successful or whatever that would have, you know, whatever that was going to look like. But at the same time, I still came out very young, you know, at the same time too. So I'm always hardest on myself, you know, because you just look at it.
But it's not just you.
But I mean, I was, like I said, I was 18, 17, and you definitely couldn't hide it. And I didn't want to anymore at that point because it was already, I'm like, whatever, here it is, pass the ketchup. But I will say this to my, you know, the gay community. It is really hard to say that out loud. Like, it sounds silly when you're like, why is it so hard? We love you and all the things.
Is it still like that now for you?
No, no. I've moved past that. But there was a long extended period of my professional career though where I carried that stigma, and I felt that I had to separate my personal life from my professional life because I also carried that false belief that, well, if people don't agree with my lifestyle, then in business maybe they wouldn't use me. But in hindsight, the same people I was hiding from were the same people I wasn't going to vibe with anyway.
Absolutely.
And that was like the best revelation I could have ever had for myself. And so, you know, now going forward, I want to share that with other people.
And it does go back to what you said, like even in the beginning, let's go back to even talking about Lizzo and that, like, the way she spoke, the people that you're supposed to vibe with are ultimately the people you're going to be around. And it's a blessing in disguise because if they weren't the ones, peace. Yep. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you're where you're supposed to be and you're with and around the people you're supposed to be.
And everything happens
absolutely.
How it's supposed to happen.
And
well, it's the same even with an argument, right? It's if you come in there saying, it's like Eminem in the rap battle, right? He went in there was like, I am trailer park trash, whatever. If you just hit people with all the facts that they can say negative, what else they have to say?
Right.
And that's the easiest way to flip a room and get your power back. And that's for, you know,
he's
all
notorious
females.
for that. He's like, I'm going to say it before you say it because then you're not going to come back at me with saying it. So that's absolutely awesome. So let's fast forward. Let's move on to moving through growing up, where you're at now, getting into your career. We're not talking about real estate. But getting into your career.
It's all cohesive.
Yes, getting into your career. You said you had to hide who you were. So how did you really establish your ground and your foundation if you always still kind of felt like you were hiding who Becky Alley really was?
Well, that was a lot of missed opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, when I started. So like I started my career when I was 21, again, young, you know, getting into everything. And, you know, when you have that feeling inside you, you know you're going to do something, right? You just don't know what. You just don't know where the skill set is going to come through. But I knew I had a greater purpose, and I didn't know how it was going to come out. And it's now I'm in my 40s and it's really coming full circle. But, early on in my career, there was like you come in a room and you're small. I don't want to talk to anyone, right? And it's almost like that same thing when people professionally, personally, you walk in, well, I don't know enough people to say anything. I don't have enough skills. I didn't take enough notes at that conference, right? But I got to a point of, I don't need to have all the answers to walk in this room like God freaking sent me here.
Right.
And, but early on in my career, I played it small. People didn't know my name. I also was a broker. It was also 2004. It was like Wild West, so I got in I got in this business, mortgage side of things. 2 years later, bought a house. 2 years later, everything freaking collapsed. Yeah. And I will say this because it applies to life. And when you're in a room and it's everything that you don't want, it makes the path that you need to walk very clear to what you do want. And in those moments of
those are powerful words. You might need to say that one more time. Say it one more time for the people in the back.
All right,
go ahead. One more time.
Where's my pen?
Yeah,
where's my pen?
Yes, when you are in a room, a space, anything that is not what you want, and you know it, and every fiber in your being feels like you're just screaming inside. If you just open up your eyes, it makes the path that you have to walk extremely clear, because when you know what you don't want, then clearly you know what you do want.
Absolutely.
And it just made it...
You guys better take notes. That's some knowledge right there.
Yeah. And so after I made those decisions, I left my previous company. So I'm loyal to a fault as well. So I've only really technically worked for 2 companies my entire 19 years.
Okay.
And so I've left... my previous company in 2010, struggling through the housing market crash. I didn't get out of the business. I stayed and did what I did, but I also knew how to reel in my finances real tight because I was a broke bitch for a really long time. I was like, you're struggling. Before I got into it, I was bartending, working 3 jobs, going to school, doing all the things that I thought I was supposed to do, and I just fell into the mortgage side of things. And I came on with Capital Mortgage Funding. Yep, I came on with them.
I was going to say same thing. I have a college degree that I'm just staring at on the wall.
For sure.
Not even using it at 41. It's like, great, just take a picture.
But the cool thing about real estate is there is no glass ceiling.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. In life, right? So like we have the ability.
In life, to me, it's no glass.
Yeah.
For sure, yes.
I don't even when people say sky's the limit. I'm like, I don't even like saying that. Because I don't feel like we should say anything is the limit.
Yes.
So,
yeah. I do agree with that. That's a different, that's the next level of that, people don't really understand when you say it. They kind of look at you like you're crazy.
I just don't like to say the limit. Yeah. Period.
Unless that it's no true. Limit soldiers, right? Master B's up in the house.
Well, he's saying no limit. Even he said no limit. Yeah, so, yeah. Unless it's so no funny. In front of it.
Well, listen, I'm okay with the no. Because a no can lead to a million yeses.
Absolutely.
Like, do you want a limit? No.
Okay.
Well, let's talk about
let's talk about it.
Let's shed the limits, right?
That's so
the
funny.
Limiting belief, right? But yeah, so it's been what was that?
Isn't that a book or something?
I don't know.
The Limiting Belief.
Is it?
It sounds like a book.
Look that up. If not, let's write it.
Let's write it.
Yeah, let's
write it. Is it a philosophy or a book?
Because
if not, we're just going to patent that right now.
All right, Becky, can we talk about raising your daughters?
Yes.
In a gay marriage.
Yes.
And how many do you have?
How does that go?
We have 2.
Okay.
So fast forward, obviously there's lots of ugly, gross details in between all that stuff. But last year I married the love of my life, Mikal.
Who's absolutely amazing, by the way.
Love
yes, Mikal. She is beautiful, and she actually is also a part of my high school story because I've known her since I was 15 and she was 13.
No way. Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, I met her little ass when she was in the 8th grade. When she was in the 8th grade, and I was actually a part of my vows because she would always say my first and last name, Becky Alley.
I think everybody does.
She would say it in such a way where I would walk in a room and it would be like the room split.
Stop. Yeah.
And she'd become floating right next to me. It didn't matter what we were doing.
Amazing.
She always found a way to talk to me, and And it was always like, it got to that point where I'd be excited to see her, but she would also be excited to see me, because you know when you're catching a vibe, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. You went to just school together?
Yeah, we went to high school together, yeah.
And then did you like not see each other for many years, or
yeah,
how
so
did
like
you reconnect?
we've always, so then we stay in the same circle. So how we reconnected was, she never really went away, but you know, we went very different paths, right? So she moved off to California, she had her daughters and all those things, and but she always came around. You know, we'd have our yearly, I'm really close with a lot of my high school friends too, so we get around each other a lot, and she would show up, but she wouldn't always show up, right? Because she's a mom, she's got the things, and she's got to do all that. But our timing was never right. You know, I'm in a relationship, she's in a relationship, but we'd always make a point, and you could tell that something was there, and then eventually our timing did come together in the right times. And so we've been together 6 years, married for 1, and she did bestow me at that time. Talia was 4 and Audriana was 9. But what was cute about it is they referred to me as Becky Alley. Like, we're going to see Becky Alley. Like, they didn't know my name. They thought my name was just Becky Alley.
Just Becky Alley as
so
one.
They kind of knew you before.
Yes.
Okay, so that helps.
Yes, but I was really, really, really cautious about how that relationship was going to start, because I don't have kids of my own for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't love kids, but it's not like I never wanted children of my own. It just wasn't the cards, and it also was easy. It was going to have to be a production for me to bring children in this world. And then also part of it was my stigma of how I felt about being gay, you know, within my family sometimes. And so I didn't want my daughter to be 16 and be like, I don't have a dad, you know, all this stuff, and like hate me. I didn't choose this. And again, it's not like that. It's definitely not like that. But that was my.
Listen, you can have a dad and not choose him too.
Okay, to that point. So that's that was my immature thought process of me being trapped in something that didn't serve my greater purpose anymore. It just didn't. So, but because of that, I was really big on the girls coming to me in their own time, getting to know me, not being forced, not rushed. Because if you know anything about lesbians, they want to be like, that's called the U-Haul lesbian. They're like, let's move in 5 minutes. I was like, no. I'm like, we're not doing that. Is so funny. I've never heard that before.
I never heard that either.
Oh my God, it's true. They're like, oh, we're together now. Let's move in. I was like, no, we're not doing that. But the girls, it literally was the most beautiful bonding, instant connection with them. I felt drawn to them. They felt drawn to me. And, you know, and it's hard because you look at that now and, you know, again, I don't want to blast them, but you got their other path that is,
absolutely,
you know, how that's going on, and there's a struggle bus there, and you see things that you wish so bad that you could prevent them and protect them from, right? And you see that, and I understand that, right? Because now, you know, and that's why, like, I'm not mad at my parents for things, because I see through a different lens, right? Because you can only meet someone where you're at in your own life, right? So,
and being a bonus parent is hard.
It's very hard.
It's hard.
It's definitely
like let's not even sugarcoat that whatsoever. Being a bonus parent is incredibly hard. So kudos to you, like on that, you know, whole transition. So I just need to know though, do they still call you Becky Alley?
They call me Mama B.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, they call me Mama B.
I can imagine Becky walking in, Becky Alley's home.
Yeah. Well, as soon as Mikkel stopped that once, I'm Rebecca to her.
Oh, you're Rebecca.
Yeah,
okay.
Now I'm Rebecca. But with the girls, though, I will say this, that it's like, as a parent, you know, raising them, you know, you're very cognizant of how are they going to be, you know, so like here, Mikkel comes in, me and her, we're in tow. You know, because we come from a different generation, you know, you're very aware of making sure that your daughters aren't going to be affected in any way, and you just kind of observe that. And again, we're so blessed because the daughters have never felt any judgment. We have never felt any judgment.
That's amazing.
And, you know, the biggest part is, you know, just them navigating other things in life that you so badly want to protect them from, but you can't, because you have to let them figure it out on their own, and it is hard.
It's hard. Yes. It's really hard. Like,
how old are they?
They're 15 and 10 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have.
So Talia's going on 25.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And
which one is that? The
10-year-old.
Yeah, she's going on 25.
Yeah, we've had these conversations before, because I have a 10-year-old too, and it is hard because you know, when the kids come home, and even the daily struggles of just being a normal child, which what is even a normal child anymore? Because I don't even think that's a thing. But even some of the stuff that kids go through in general is a lot. So being able to have that foundation is absolutely amazing, and I commend you guys for it. You guys are amazing people and amazing parents. So how do you balance this life that you have, being the vice president banker that you are, and then this family? Like, because as working moms, we struggle, and you have babies
I don't have any babies.
but you have babies in your life.
They're like, I want to protect my babies, and I'm the one that's like out partying. Like, I don't want my mom to protect me.
But you're best
Hey, girl,
friend.
enjoy it.
Exactly. Do you think my cat's thinking of me?
But your best friend had a baby, right? And like
Yes,
you're
she
in
did.
her life, and
Yes.
so you're around babies, but
Yeah.
like that balance is so difficult. And I feel like the older we get and the busier we get and doing all this stuff, like it becomes so hard to balance. And
Yeah.
being Becky Allie, how do you balance?
Becky Allie.
You're forever going to be Becky
It rolls
Allie.
off. I mean, two first names. It just rolls off.
It just rolls off the tongue, but you are forever going to be Becky Allie. But how do you balance that in your life, and where do you get the time to be mom and vice president and all the things that you do? Like, how does that work out?
And power lifter.
Yeah, power lifter.
Powerlifter, yes, let's add that in there.
Okay.
Yeah. You make time for what's important.
Yeah.
And when you turn your shoulds into musts, right, it changes things. But I describe it as I go hard in the paint Monday through Friday. Saturday I do have the radio show, so but obviously I do work a little bit on the weekends, but it's not as intense. So the weekends are always my time to recharge because I can keep a handle on what I have to handle. But we're in a profession where it's 365. If you're working, I'm working. But the cool thing about it is when you have a spouse that supports you and
That's
understands you and wants to grind with you. And don't get me wrong, Mikkel, I love you, baby, but I know you struggle with that. It's hard to.
It is hard,
because I have
yeah.
to be all the things. I have to be so many places. Today, I was six different places, talking different places, doing different things. And you guys are my last stop, but I did get to go home and see her for like 3 seconds before I ran out. She's like, all right, go do your thing. But part of that work-life balance comes from the fact that we're getting to a point where it's a partnership, and and my trajectory was already in motion, and so for us to kind of all come together as this cohesive unit, and for her to maintain the girls, like she always is, that's what she loves to do, the sports and stuff like that, but at the same time,
riding, I know there's big horseback riding in there.
but at the same time it's important for her to visualize her goals and her dreams, because it's not just my show, and but kids, when it comes to that too, it's like it's caught not taught, right? So you lead by example. And the one thing that I do hope that, whether it's my children or someone watching me from the sidelines is, that you can do whatever you want, and you don't need anyone to take care of you. You don't need to be the damsel in distress. You can have it all, regardless if you are a man or a woman.
Absolutely.
And, breaking those barriers is so important. But when you lead by example, and it intensifies that, regardless of when people are watching you, when you have children sometimes. But, I also am fighting, even before they came into my life, like I would fight for that kind of recognition for other females, because I have had to work 10 times harder on top of also being an openly gay, woman. It makes it 10 times harder. So, cheers to I feel like people like ourselves, where I visualize standing in the doorway like a starfish, and it's like, and you can come and you can come,
Right.
because if I can pave the way, and I'm just one person, but if I can make even a little bit of a difference to anyone that's coming behind me, that's what I want to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
That's
that work-life
awesome.
balance is something that I often struggle with,
Yeah.
because there's only 24 hours a day, but I feel like if you view those 24 hours like currency, you can make time for the things. But working out for sure is a top priority always.
Yeah.
I don't care if I'm working at 11 o'clock at night. I make time, and even if I'm just rolling my ass downstairs, they know I'm done working at 10 if that happens like that, and I'm
Yeah.
going right downstairs and I'm hitting something if I didn't make it
That's
to
your
the gym
war
that day.
room. Your
That's
war
cool.
room is the
You
gym.
need that decompression,
Yes.
whatever it is, right? So I like working out. I know Brooke loves working
Absolutely,
out.
Brooke,
But
yep.
whatever it is, right? If it's meditation, if it's yoga, if it's chatting with
cricket.
friends. Yeah,
I'm
cricket.
kidding.
If you're into underwater basket weaving, whatever is your jam.
Is that really a thing?
I've never heard
I
that
mean,
before.
whatever.
It is now.
I
We're
don't
gonna
even know
patent
what
that
that
too.
is.
Underwater basket weaving. That's
If that is your jam, you
Do
owe it
it.
to yourself
Absolutely.
to make the time
For sure.
for yourself to decompress, to reset. Because if you're not your best self, then you're no good to anyone anyway.
That's so true.
Yeah,
and so looking into hindsight, being where you're at now, you have this beautiful family, amazing career. If you could go back and tell your younger self anything, even for the future or people following you, what's the one thing you would look back and be like, Becky Alley, you need to know this. Person following me, you need to know this. What would that be?
Okay, so two things, because I had that hindsight younger, but I didn't know what to do it. So I had this journal that I wrote in that nobody knew about, and I wrote down stuff. And it wasn't like, dear diary, today I had pizza and Mandy was mean to me. It wasn't anything like that. It was me writing down how I felt about how certain things came about. And I didn't write it down to remember to harbor. I wrote it down to remember what it felt like. So if I ever felt myself pushing that through to somebody else, I would never forget what that felt like, and I wouldn't do it.
Wow, that's powerful.
So looking back on that, now that I know that, like, why I was doing it, but it was so beyond me at that time, but I just did have the foresight to think about that. And I feel like every generation someone comes around and changes whatever generational curses happen. You know, that limiting belief. And the one thing that I would probably tell myself is stop shrinking for other people, because you're going to be just fine and you have a purpose. And I feel my purpose now is to speak to the person that I once was in the room. And if you even touch just one person, you make any kind of difference, that matters. And,
For sure.
You know, I'll just tell you, like, so my mom's a really big scrapbooker. And so she gave me, like, all my, like, from preschool to high school to softball.
Did you get the quilt of your jerseys?
Yep, I have that too, yep. So, I mean, she was, and God, I love it because it's like most parents, they don't have, or most kids don't have that documented, right? So she even had the high school newsletters that, you know, like whatever was happening during that time. So I was going through it, and you write these things that you know, you forget you say, and this is where I was saying, like, these moments are manifested because I wrote in my senior sign-off, I wanted to be a DJ on 96.3 FM because at the time, yes, and at the time that was the cool thing, right?
Right.
So, like, and I did go to school for telecommunications, but I didn't graduate because I fell into this occupation, and it, you know, I took a different path, and that's fine, and that's cool, but, you know, it's those things where it's like, if you throw that boomerang out, you throw it out there, it is going to come back to you, but it's all in the timing. Just because it doesn't happen in 5 minutes doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, because it's all in the timing that works best for you.
Yeah,
that's
I definitely
so true.
believe that.
So shed that limiting belief, everybody out there, because you are your own worst critic. And I feel like a lot of times, I mean, you guys can chime in on if you think this, but some of that negative self-talk that we feed ourselves, it doesn't even belong to us. Some of it. It's stuff
it's stuff you hear. It's stuff that you even, like,
as a children,
society
like
or
whatever. It's like
mainstream media. Like, it's so much more. It's bigger than that.
It's come into your mind since you were from birth, or even before birth, even in the womb.
Yes. I feel like it's like generational, like where like lack of love and lack of understanding and all that stuff is just, so it's like when you're hearing that, I called it I've named it, right? So when you hear all that negative stuff, right? I named that ratchet bitch Gildaphine. So I tell Gildaphine to freaking knock it off.
Gildaphine? Yeah, I love that.
I don't know any Gildaphines. If your name's Gildaphine, I apologize and I associate.
Please don't write us.
But I named her Gildaphine because it was ratchet. I didn't know any Gildaphines, and like, I don't know. I was like, ew. Like, I imagine this like haggard person like to be like, you're not good enough. I'd be like, bitch, shut up. So just name that imposter syndrome.
I know we're gonna have to.
I have really bad imposter syndrome.
Really?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to come back and we'll name it because that bitch needs a name. Names. We're gonna have to come up with a name. Gil, you can't take Gildaphine though. That one's already taken.
Okay, funny story. Before CreatorCon, you know, you guys had me going up there moderating, and so I was looking up imposter syndrome and podcasts and like what to do when you have imposter syndrome, and they said that they were like, that's a form of yourself that you. I don't even really know how to explain it, but
you feel like
you have
you
to
don't
detach
deserve
yourself
it.
from that person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's a really hard thing to do. But
Well, did you guys know that we make 95% of the decisions we make is based on our subconscious mind.
Really?
Yeah.
Only
believe
5%, is like our first mind.
Wow.
So all of those limited beliefs and all of that stuff that's in our subconscious, that's what we're making our decisions.
How do we
based
get
on.
rid of it?
I know, right?
You just
Through
say
hypnosis.
no. You say guiltify.
What did you say? I was just say guiltifying. No.
Yeah.
Well, you can't.
Time for this bitch to go.
Yeah.
You said hypnosis? Have you done hypnosis?
We'll talk about that on a later show.
my
Say,
God.
what? I know. Wait a minute. We just geared.
It's really not what people
is it
think
hypnosis?
it is.
Is it really? Like,
it's
what is
not
it?
like when they have a watch and
Yeah.
like you're getting sleepy. It's
You're gonna be
really
a frog.
going into your subconscious mind to see all of those limited beliefs, and then you can really get rid of all of that stuff.
I love
but
that.
you have to do it
That's
in between a conscious mind and an unconscious mind.
So do you like?
can't do
Did
it
you
with your
speak them
conscious
out
mind.
though? Like, did you like?
You
like,
can
was
get
it-
into like a hypnosis state of mind.
It's a higher level
Where-
of self. You're like in between.
Wow.
And then when you're asked the questions, it's like the first answer that pops into your mind. That's the answer to it.
Huh.
So
we're going to have
That's
to
a
like
lot.
go
We're gonna
see
have to
it.
dive into that.
a
We might
lot.
have to do
But
a
it's
visiting
a trip.
podcast one day.
Field
Yeah.
trip.
Yes, I'm
Feel- I would
definitely.
say field
I'm
trip.
interested in that. You definitely
Yeah.
treat me because I know
Yeah.
that exists, and
And
I'm
it's it's true. Like everything, it's how it works.
See, like here I am. See, like I'm just speaking
Yeah.
from what I feel like just comes to me. But
It's
like,
what you're saying is real.
All
Like
right,
that's
cool.
what it is.
see, again, this is where it goes. Like you're in. When people are like, get in the right rooms, get in proximity, like, and we're like, well, how do I know I'm in the right room? This is how you know you're in the right room.
Yeah. When
Like
stuff-
moments like this, it's
Yeah.
not coincidence.
Not at all.
Absolutely.
When it's it's things come for a reason. There's a reason why people come into your life and they make this positive impact.
Yeah.
Because it also reminds you when the people are not supposed to be there, it shouldn't feel so bad.
It should
Right.
never be forced.
Yeah.
And
That's what
sometimes
I
they
feel.
just exit out and it just
Yeah.
happens. There's no like, here's the door. It just gradually happens. And I think that's for me, this is big for me this year because I'm stepping into a new world and being forced willingly, and she's laughing. So being forced willingly to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's something that I struggle with. Like I'm a very analytical, like tell me when to be here, what time are we doing this? They laugh at me because I have outlines, like everything is just planned because that's how I am. And I'm
Yeah.
going into the 2023 with accountability and being comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And there's spaces that I've been in the last month and a half that have really pushed me to, you know, those limits.
Yeah.
And I encourage everybody to really feel that because
Yeah.
I've grown just in the last month and a half. Like
of
I've
course.
grown so much just tuning in with my inner self and finally being me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I commend you at even 16 for wanting to be you because I'm at 41 still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
once
see,
you
there's nothing
do-
wrong with
yeah.
your like outlines and stuff. So like I'm an overachiever. I don't know how to
Yeah.
be any other way. I really
Yeah.
don't. And I've tried to dim my light for other people to make them feel more comfortable. But why?
Right.
And I stopped that. But like I write outlines. I mean,
I am.
because I like to be prepared. I like to have my thoughts in order. But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, when you get in a room and the conversation just flows, the outline goes out the freaking window.
does.
It doesn't change the fact that like I did it for
Right.
an hour. Like
Right.
I write
Yeah.
a radio show every Friday night, but when you get in there and
Yeah.
the conversation just flows, that's what matters. But
Absolutely.
but don't talk negatively about that because that's a part of you. There's
Right.
nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
But
well, that was me for 23 years,
Yeah.
being an executive assistant and always doing that. That's what I was molded to do. So it's that
Yeah.
natural thing. But now I'm stepping outside of that, and it's actually, you know, it's fun. This is fun.
Yeah.
We're having fun now, you
And
know,
it's
and
growth.
it's so it's
It's
grown
growth after that.
Yeah,
so
like
that's the good
yeah,
part about getting uncomfortable. After it is growth.
right.
Yeah. So
So
it's
I'm
just
hoping
like
that people
kid.
can take this message and
Yeah.
and do it before 41 and you know, you're 28 and you're growing amazingly and we're all double O.
look at you
Well, because
blossoming right before
Yeah.
I laugh. Like we're all double O people and she's like, I'm 13, 2013. But no, I'm kidding. But I mean, but it is if it's so
Yeah.
nice to step into your shoes and feel good. Like
Yeah.
it's a great
Yeah.
feeling to step into your own shoes and feel good.
And what I found is when you start coming into your true self and finding out who you really are, those people that aren't supposed to be around you, they'll start to, and you'll
Yeah.
wonder like why, why do I, feel like I don't have any friends?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
what happened? Like we were so, so much good friends, but that person is like weaning their way out because you're not attracting that type of person anymore. You're starting to attract the people that are really supposed to be.
Right.
You know,
well, because like
so.
I've also found you, because like to that point, you're like, why is it so hard, or why is it so difficult to have like a communicate? Like, what am I saying that I can't, like, that I need to say better? Because why aren't you hearing me? Like, but it's because some of that is because they don't want to hear you.
Yeah.
Because
they're not meant to.
Because something inside me unintentionally is aggravating to them. And some people don't like being around positive people. Some people
not on your same frequency.
Yeah, they're not. And it's like, and it makes sense. And but if you could identify, the sooner you can identify that, it literally is, you're going to blow the lid off your life, because that is the epitome of the best thing that I've ever discovered for my own self, both personally, professionally, my relationships, friendships.
Yeah.
It really just takes things to the next level. But I have moments of doubt too. Like, I have moments where I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why did you say that?
Yeah.
But again, like, if I go home and I have to reanalyze the conversation, then I know I wasn't in the right room.
Yeah. It's funny because you can ask them every single time something happens, they're waiting on Nikki to text like, guys, should we da 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 da? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just like I'm overanalyzing again. Sorry, guys.
Flow.
But I do, like, it's funny because I do it all the time, and I think they expect it now.
Well, like she said, that's you. So,
Yeah.
I had a tough time because I was very much so like that. Because my parents like raised me like that, like you. Like, I grew up very blessed to have like a family that was like super supportive and very close, and we always got to the airport like 3 hours before you were supposed we had an itinerary. And then like, I remember an ex-boyfriend I had, like, we showed up at the airport like 30 minutes before we were supposed to go. Like, we didn't have an Uber booked, no hotel.
Oh my
gosh. He
gosh.
was just very on the fly.
I
And
had straight anxiety.
I did.
Yes,
but then
straight
what
anxiety.
I learned is, like, that whole trip, like, we were just fighting the whole time. And, like, I was driving and I was stressed about, like, where to park. I'm like, I can't park. Like, why don't you just drive? Like, and he's like, Brooke, just chill out. Like, what are you so stressed about? And I think he really opened my eyes to, like, living in the moment, not worrying about what happened in the past, not what's happening in the future. Like, enjoy the moment and stop stressing.
Yeah.
And ever since that kind of opened my eyes, ever since then, I've really tried, like, living life as if it was, like, your last day and just living in the moment.
And I think that's awesome because honestly, I wish at 28 I would have thought the way I do now at 41.
Yeah.
Because so much of everything, I mean, we say everything happens for reasons, and I fully believe that. Like, I really do think that I'm on the path that I'm on because I'm supposed to be here. But having that mindset at 28 is so powerful, and it's so amazing. And I commend you for it, because I wish I really would have thought that way.
Yeah.
Because it's powerful. It really is.
And I truly feel that that's the way that we can truly just be happy.
Yeah.
Is when you live in the moment.
Yeah.
Because it's like that's all we really have is the moment. Because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. We don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now. And whatever happened in the past, that already happened. Like,
You can't
that's
change
gone.
that.
Can't go back there.
The past is gone. So
Yeah.
All right, so I had two things. So
Okay.
that you said I want to pick up on and kind of go back to. So it's like it's very intuitive to say that, because I do think that way as well. Like, if you treat something or with the end in mind, you're gonna. It's gonna, or if you treat it like with the end in mind, you're gonna treat the whole situation differently, right? Just like their relationship, though. But if you also treat it like it was in the beginning, so it's like even with relationships, right? If it's at the end of the relationship, but you treat it like it was in the beginning, you're like, it's a totally different vibe. But then if you also,
That's so
if
true.
it's like, but you also know, like, the one thing that is for sure inevitable is that one day we are going to leave this planet. And what are you going to leave behind, right? And the only thing that you get to keep is the love you give away.
Yeah.
And that's really your legacy and all those stuff. And, I've really kind of taken a stance of gratitude. And because I feel like if you have such gratitude on stuff, you can't be mad. So you're like, God damn it, we didn't get here 4 hours ahead of time and whatever else. But then you're like, wait, I'm happy. We're in Florida. We're in this and that. And so it makes you totally flip that mindset.
Yeah.
Because like literally my parents will still show up to the movies like 2 hours ahead of time. And like
My husband shows up just for the previews.
Yeah. But like I remember my first experience running through an airport like Home Alone style, sprinting. I had to con the security guard. I'm like, we're gonna miss our flight. My friend she's like, chill, doesn't care. We're all going to California or Colorado. We're going. Chill. Her grandpa picked us up. He took the long way to the airport. He was in no hurry. I'm like, tick-tock.
You got anxiety.
Yeah, I was like,
Right.
tick-tock. And we get there, and I was like, and it was a line. I was like, oh my God. I was like, and no one, I was like, am I the only responsible one here? Like, what's happening? And we literally, like, they finally let us go. So when I'm not even exaggerating. I wish I was exaggerating. Like, full on sprinting, and then we were like, oh, it's fine, it's totally chill. The only reason why we did not miss our flight was because something was wrong with the airplane. And that is 100% true. Like, they were like, oh, we're still working on the engine, but full on sprint. But that was
then you got on that airplane after they're working on the engine? I would have been like, next
flight.
flight.
No, they switched out the airplanes. They did switch it.
I would have been like, next flight, please.
But that was an experience that I was like, because everyone, like, they were like, whatever, we'll get there, we'll take the next one.
That's
it's
what I'm
cool.
saying. You don't think that in your mind. You're not
And I felt
thinking,
like
I wouldn't
there's
either.
another airplane I can take probably in 30
the only
minutes.
thing
Yeah, and
about
she was
those
like
type
Kevin
of trips.
McAllister looking for batteries for his talk boy or whatever. And I'm like, we're not going to make it.
Yeah,
That's so
it's crazy.
But it's such a waste of
Yeah.
freaking energy.
It is.
Yeah.
And it kills
An
the
energy
vibe.
you can't get back.
Yeah.
You cannot get that energy back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
okay,
it's
you
so
would have
true.
been sitting at the airport like this, twiddling your fingers for 2 hours, or you could have the experience of running through the airport, dying laughing
Yeah.
That's so
with
true.
all of your friends, and you
Right.
still made it.
Yeah.
And then you get on the plane like, what in
Right.
the
Yeah.
hell
When you look
just
back,
happened?
it's like, that was kind of fun. So,
Yep. I'll never.
But let's
I'll
not do
never
it
forget
again.
that. Yeah, I'll never forget that moment. But you're right. It's all about perspective.
Yeah.
It is.
And if you can really tap into like all these moments that this is never going to happen again. It's going to
Yeah.
be recorded, but
That's
it's
why you
never
have to
going to happen
enjoy it
exactly.
while
This
you're going
conversation
through it. Yeah.
is never going to happen again. And again, I want to say thank you, ladies, for
Oh,
letting
yes.
me be here.
Oh,
Even right now.
absolutely.
So far, this conversation
Cheers.
is very enlightening.
Yes.
And all the things, and I'm enjoying it.
Amazing. So we're gonna kind of come full circle and wrap things up. And I want to know what would be, if you could pinpoint one thing in your life, what would be your absolute greatest achievement at this point in your life? The one thing that doesn't compare to anything else.
I would say that the moment time stood still for probably the millionth time, but the time that stood still looking at Mikkel when we were getting married. That was an
Good
amazing
answer.
Yeah.
That was and I'm telling you, I'm not even like bullshitting.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so like I can talk about accolades, I can talk about trophies, I can talk about, the goals for myself that I've achieved that I never thought I would. But part of my biggest accomplishment and goal was finding someone that is going to love me unconditionally no matter what. And knowing that I'm where I'm supposed to be, because we were tap dancing around each other for a million ways to Sunday.
And the stars aligned.
Yeah, but when God keeps punching you in the face, you can't ignore it sometimes.
Absolutely.
And we finally had that moment, and to see that beautiful wedding that we had come to
Your
life,
wedding was
and-
amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like the pictures and the videos, and we've all seen it. And what was the magazine you guys were featured in?
We were wedding.
Which magazine
Wedding
was it?
Brides or Wedding Chicks. We were in Wedding Chicks.
Oh,
We also
okay.
were in Our Magazine.
I remember Our
Yeah,
Magazine. I
that's-
remember
yeah,
reading
Wedding
that
Chicks.
article.
What was
Absolutely
that
beautiful.
Like, what was that,
that whole
like,
experience like?
experience?
the
Being in the magazine with the wedding and just
Well-
even your wedding experience.
Well, so
What
like
was-
so I did all those details.
Really?
I heard
So
about that.
I did a lot of those details.
Mikkel made sure we had that. I don't know if you remember. We had that conversation
did
of
a
what
lot of
everything
those
you did for the wedding and the details, and was so.
because it was
So it was your whole vision.
yes,
Okay.
it was. I am very detail oriented. I'm just very detailed, but I'm all about the vibe and creating these experiences. And I feel like you create experience every day, regardless of who you're talking to, right? So whether it's me meeting you for coffee, or we're having this podcast, or whatever, it's all about these experiences. And so when I decided, we got engaged on New Year's Eve, and we decided we're going to get married on New Year's Eve. So we decided that the ceremony would be for us. And when I say us, like Mikkel, I also had vows to the girls. They got rings from me too.
that's amazing.
And, I will say this to the girls. I really cannot remember a moment without them. There is not I can't remember what my life was like without them anymore. And that's a beautiful achievement for me
space.
because to all the struggles and the self-doubt and the feeling like I had to prove something to somebody for so long, when in reality it was just me proving it to myself. But with the wedding, so we made it very intimate, with what we had to say to each other. We were very transparent and it was almost like no one was even there, which was, it was an out-of-body experience. It really was like an out-of-body experience. But then after that, the party was for everybody else. Yeah, so we had a violinist come in from California.
That's cool.
She brought in a saxophone player. We had the drink menus. I put my dog Chachi as one of the drinks, so he's no longer with us. God bless Chachi. Which we can even talk about Chachi too. That's a whole other manifestation.
That's a whole other story.
Wow. But and then at midnight, like confetti cannons all over the place, going crazy. But it was a moment that we were able to capitalize for everybody. It was just like, it was
a
beautiful.
Moment in time.
It was literally family, friends, love, life, and I hope that everyone that was there had an amazing time because I did.
All right, guys. So I think we got 1 minute left of this podcast.
Yes.
So I want
Dang, we could
I
be
know.
like
We
over 5 more hours.
keep going, right? We got a whole nother bottle to open.
Right.
So
thank you so much, Becky, for coming on and being vulnerable and opening up to us. We really appreciate it.
And we hope you
Enjoy
felt
it.
comfortable in our safe space because we definitely enjoyed speaking with you and learning all about you.
Yeah.
Stuff that we didn't know. So
It was
we
a
appreciate
vibe.
that. It was a total vibe, and
Yeah.
we really appreciate you doing this and being here with us.
Thank you very much. You guys are a vibe in itself. The conversation, I feel very blessed to be in your guys' space and to be considered to be on here. Thank you so much. And, you guys are going to be doing big things, and I can't wait to see wherever this goes, wherever life takes you. I definitely will be clapping for you, always right next to you.
Thank you.
Same
Thank
to
you so much. Absolutely.
All right. Peace.
Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you. Bye.
Realest people in real estate.